one of the biggest misconceptions when it comes to using flash is that it can't look natural, and this couldn't be further from the truth. So in this tutorial, I want to walk you through step by step on how to get your flash to look like natural light. And all you need is your off-camera flash. We're also going to pair it with a MagSphere. Let's go. Hello, my friends. My name is Pye. Welcome to another MagMod tutorial. If y'all know me, you know how I like to do. Get straight into things and not waste time, which we're gonna do that. So all you need for this shoot, an off-camera flash, which you're gonna place onto whatever stand of your choice. This is a Manfrotto Nano stand. This is the ProPhoto A1. Any flash will work totally fine. I'm gonna pair it with the MagSphere for a bit of diffusion, which you're gonna see in just a moment. Wait for it, wait for it, wait for it. Oh yeah. So this is our lighting setup, and then just grab any camera, any lens combo of your choice. So I'm using my trusty R5, this is my workhorse camera, and the 28-70, but honestly for what we're about to do, I would say like just any camera and a basic 50mm prime would be fantastic. Now I wanna go through this process using the CAMP framework. CAMP stands for Composition, Ambient Light, Modify, then Photograph. Because in doing so, I can kind of talk about where we often mess up this process. Like usually when it comes to getting natural looks out of our flash, we mess up in the step 2, the ambient, as well as the modify step 3 part of this overall framework. So let's get straight into that. Let's start first though with composition and what we're going for. And to do that, I need the help of my lovely model. Kiara, step on in. I feel like I don't need to introduce Kiara. We work together all the time, but we're gonna introduce her anyway. And we'll link her up so you guys can give her a follow. Okay, so just standing here, I'm gonna take a basic shot, just not thinking anything about composition. Let's go to 1/4000th f2 and ISO 100, and we get this. Now, basically, the only things that are working for me in this photograph is Kiara and the sun. The sun is nicely backlighting the scene, but as you can see, we have tons of road, we're gonna get cars, and also, I probably can see your shoes. Kiara, why don't you just show off those lovely shoes of yours? Yeah, we don't need that. We don't need that, right? No cars and no shoes. So what we're gonna do is, I'm actually going to lower the camera, but the other thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna work off angle, because if I position here, well, I'll just show you. I can actually frame Kiara right between these trees. I can not only create a foreground, but I can also have this beautiful background as well. Just compare that to the first shot. Already we're doing so much better, right? From that second angle, we position Kiara between the trees, which allows us to kind of make her pop against that clean background. We've also added a foreground element. We've concealed the shoes, we've concealed the road. It looks fantastic. But as we're looking at the shot, I'm kind of like, you know, I really want a little bit of light just from this right side to accentuate her face. I could do this in a number of ways. Like you might ask, well, why not use a reflector? Yeah, you could use a reflector, but reflectors tend to make people squint. You also need an assistant to hold them. And when you're working in the shade, you don't have that option, right? So my favorite option is to simply use a flash. So I'll place the camera where our composition is gonna be. I'm gonna go to the light, and we're gonna bring this into the scene. So I'm gonna place it right about here. I'll raise the height just a bit, and I'm gonna turn this towards Kiara. And just for demonstration purposes, I'm also gonna take off the sphere for just a moment. With that light set up, I'm gonna go ahead and grab my remote, and I wanna talk about step 2 and step 3. So step 2 is your ambient light exposure. Step 3 is modifying your light, adding your light source, and adjusting the power. Now for this demonstration, I've left that at full power because I want you guys to see the mistake that we often make, right? When photographers are like, flash can't look natural, this is what's happening. We get our remote onto the camera, we go for the same composition, and I dial my settings to my flash sync speed, which is 1/200. I adjust my aperture to compensate, so I go to f14 or f11 and like say low ISO. Now there's nothing wrong with this dramatic image, right? Except when you don't want that look. Like right now, Kiara is dressed in this beautiful sundress. It's this light and airy look and vibe, and I wanna match that vibe with my light. The reason that we're going wrong right now is because our ambient balance to the flash is off. See, when we want a dramatic shot, what we're gonna do is we're gonna pull down the ambient light exposure and we're gonna raise flash power. So darken the ambient exposure in camera, raise your flash power for more light. That gets you dramatic. When you want a more natural look, you're gonna raise the ambient light. The ambient exposure in your camera brightens, and then you adjust your flash power and you're gonna use a lower flash power. So what we're gonna do instead, when we get to the ambient light piece, I want you to either turn off or just simply take off the remote, and I want you to dial in your exposure for how you want the image to look. So I want this to look like a beautiful kind of soft background. So I'm gonna go down to f2. We're gonna widen out the aperture all the way. If you're on a prime lens, go to 1.4, 1.2, 1.8, whatever you got. This would look beautiful because we have so much depth in the scene, it's gonna look fantastic. The next thing is I'm gonna go ahead and just speed up the shutter to probably 1/2000th of a second-ish. I don't wanna go too high because I want it to be kind of blown out and light and airy in the background. So I can go to 1/1000th, that would be here, which is gonna be even brighter, or I can go to 1/2000th right here, which will be a little bit darker, keep a little bit more of the highlights, but still have a really nice natural light look. So I'm gonna go with 1/2000th, f2, and low ISO for my exposure. I'm gonna pop the remote back on now, and this is where we need to modify. So we have ambient light dialed in. Step 3 is to modify our light source. What I'm gonna do is go ahead and add that MagSphere. What it's gonna do is kind of allow that light to bounce around, and we're not gonna get as much reflection or specularity back in the camera. So it'll be really nice. Now we're gonna take a shot and just kind of see where we're at. We're still at full power. I'm at 1/2000th. That does mean that you're gonna be using high-speed sync. And because of that, we're automatically getting less flash power anyway. So might as well kind of just test it out and see where we're at. That looks nice, but I still feel like it might be a little bit too much light. So what I'm gonna do is go ahead and back it off. We're gonna go down 1 stop. And that looks absolutely gorgeous, but I wanna show you even 1 step in kind of the more natural direction. So I'm gonna bring my shutter speed down to 1/1000th now. We're just gonna leave everything else where it's at. And I'm gonna bring my flash power down another stop. So we're gonna go even on the brighter side to kind of show you what that would be. Now just for comparison purposes, I'm gonna take the flash off. We're gonna shoot at 1/2000th just so we can see what the direction of light added to the image. Now let's put all 3 of these side by side. So the first image is just our standard exposure, no flash. Second image is with flash, that same exposure. Third image is the brighter exposure with flash as well. Now with that first shot, I love the look, but it feels like we're missing a bit of light direction on the face, like it's a bit too flat. I could fix it in post, but why do that as opposed to just adding a little light on a stand and having it done right in camera? Now the second shot is, to me, kind of this beautiful balance between having a natural light look, but just a little kiss of highlight and direction of light to the face. The third shot, I think, for my taste personally, is just a bit too bright, but honestly, this is a very much stylistic thing. I still love, though, the direction of light that we get on the face, even in that third shot, that brighter image. It adds a lot of dimension to the shot. So I'm gonna go ahead and get back to just shooting more images now, but I hope this tutorial was helpful. What we're gonna do is link up all the gear that we use in the description of the video. If you guys have any questions, I'm gonna see you in the comments. I read every one of your comments. So if you have any questions, thoughts, ideas for the tutorials, let me know, and I'll see you all in the next tutorial. Peace.